My brother replaced my resume with his and got my job, so I exposed him to HR, took his position, and sent him a rejection letter signed by me. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I've never had anything handed to me. I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. No trust funds, no connections, no soft landings. Just me, my laptop, and a whole lot of late nights trying to prove I mattered. I put myself through college working part-time at a campus IT desk and tutoring freshman coding classes on the side, while other people interned at flashy startups. I built apps in my garage, freelanced for pennies on job boards, and fixed broken Wi-Fi routers just to pay rent by the time I graduated. I had a decent portfolio, nothing huge, but it was mine. Real work. Real effort. Then I saw the listing. A mid-sized tech firm in my city posted an opening that felt tailor-made for me. Full-stack developer. Hybrid remote, generous salary, career growth. It was the kind of role I'd quietly dreamed about for years, while everyone else assumed I'd never go anywhere. I spent days refining my resume, tailoring my cover letter, even running mock interviews with a mentor. I wasn't just applying, I was showing up for myself that same week. My older brother, Caleb, stopped by our parents' place while I was updating my LinkedIn. Caleb's 30, slick-talking, job-hopping, and somehow always lands on his feet no matter how many bridges he burns. My parents worship the ground he walks on. "Why can't you be more like Caleb?" was practically a family motto growing up. But this job? This one was mine. I remember hitting send on that application with this strange feeling in my chest, half nerves, half hope. Not because I was scared I wouldn't get it, but because for once I truly believed I deserved it. And for a moment, I thought maybe life would finally agree. A week passed. Then two, no email, no callback. Not even a rejection notice at first. I told myself maybe they were swamped. Maybe the hiring team was still reviewing candidates. But deep down, something didn't feel right. I'd followed up. I'd triple-checked everything. I had a solid referral. Still, nothing. Then one evening, I was eating dinner with my parents' chicken casserole. And that weird forced silence that always hung around when Caleb wasn't the topic. That's when my mom casually said, "Oh, did Caleb tell you? He got a new job. Some big tech firm downtown. Great pay. Finally turning things around." I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. "What company?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. She didn't remember the name, but said Caleb was really proud and started orientation next week. I felt this chill crawl up my spine. That job? That had to be the same one. The timing? The location? The tone in her voice ticked lined up too perfectly. Later that night, I called Caleb. "Hey man, congrats on the new job. What's the company?" He laughed. "Why?" "So you can apply too. It's not really your vibe." Swallowed hard. Just curious. He finally gave the name. It was the exact company I'd applied to. The exact role. I didn't sleep that night. Something was off. I've replayed everything. Reread my confirmation email. Double-check the job ID. Then I remembered something. Caleb had crashed at my place one night the week I applied. I was out running errands, and he was there alone for hours. And that's when my stomach dropped, because I realized my resume folder was open on my desktop when I left. The next morning, I couldn't shake the thought. It gnawed at me. The timing? The smugness in Caleb's voice. The way my parents glowed when they said his name. I drove to his apartment that afternoon under the excuse of wanting to see his new setup. He let me in, half-dressed, bragging about how networking pays off. I scanned the coffee table while he talked empty mugs, unopened mail, and then a folder with the company's logo on top. I reached for it casually, pretending to tidy up. The first page stopped me cold. It was my resume, same formatting, same bullet points, same project names. Except the name at the top said Caleb Harris. My throat went dry. I could barely breathe. You used my resume? He didn't even flinch. Just shrugged. You weren't going to get the job anyway. I just made better use of it. Better use. My voice cracked. That was my work, Caleb, my projects, my life. He smirked. Don't be so dramatic. We're family. What's yours is mine, right? I stood there, shaking. You literally stole my identity to get a job. He leaned back, stretching like he'd just finished a workout. Relax, man. It's not like they're gonna care who coded what as long as the job gets done. I left before I did something stupid. When I told my parents that night, they both acted like I was the problem. Mom sighed. Your brother finally got a stable job, and you're jealous. Dad added, he needed a break, son. You should be happy for him. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just that Caleb stole my work. It was that no one cared he did, and for the first time in my life, I felt invisible, like I could scream and they'd still only hear his name. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment like a corrupted loop. The betrayal was bad enough, but the way my parents dismissed it like I was just being petty made it worse. Caleb had hijacked years of my effort, and somehow I was the villain for noticing. But the thing is, I'm not just a developer. I'm meticulous. I keep records. I document everything because for years, no one else ever had my back. So I went digging. I logged into my email archive and searched for the original job application I'd sent. The message was still there, but something was off. The attachment field showed resume_2023_finalcaleb.pdf. My file had been renamed. I never named it that. My hands started trembling. I checked my activity logs. Sure enough, 3 days before Caleb's big announcement, my email was accessed from an unknown IP. My home network. The exact same night he'd stayed over while I was out grabbing groceries. Then, I remembered my building's security system. I pulled the smart camera footage from the hallway outside my apartment. And there he was. Caleb, sitting on my couch, using my laptop, sipping my coffee like he owned the place. For nearly 3 hours, the pieces clicked together like rotten puzzle pieces. He didn't just steal my resume. He edited it, replaced the file, and deleted the original so I wouldn't know. And I hadn't thought to double-check before hitting send. It wasn't just manipulation. It was premeditated. That was the moment the anger hardened into something colder. This wasn't going to be a family feud. It was going to be a war. And if I had to start at the bottom just to climb up behind him, fine. I was going to take back what he stole, one digital receipt at a time. I stopped waiting for apologies, or justice, or even basic acknowledgement instead. I opened a new browser tab and applied to the same company again, this time through a specialized recruiter I'd connected with at a networking event months ago. I tailored a new resume, fresh projects, clean layout, new formatting. No trace Caleb could recognize. 2 weeks later, I got the call. Different department, different team, different floor. But the same company. The same building Caleb thought he owned. He had no idea. When I walked in for orientation, my heart was pounding, but not from nerves. From control. From restraint. I was being handed the chance to walk through the front door, while the man who stole my identity worked just a few floors above me, blissfully unaware that I was now in the system too. The moment I stepped off the elevator, I noticed the contrast. Caleb's department was flashier, louder, all glass and noise. Mine was tucked into a quieter wing, more analytical, more focused. My manager, Lena, was sharp and no-sense. She introduced me to a cross-departmental task force handling Internal productivity audits. The same task force that occasionally collaborated. With Caleb's team, that's when I saw the opportunity. Every document, every tool, every file shared between teams was archived on the internal server. And Caleb, being the lazy fraud he has had, uploaded project files that looked eerily familiar. I opened one of the shared folders. There it was, an app flowchart I'd made in college, complete with the same bugs I'd never fixed. He didn't even bother to rewrite it. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. I wasn't just going to expose him. I was going to dismantle the illusion he built one stolen file at a time. I didn't storm into HR with evidence. That would have been satisfying. But stupid? Caleb was charming, slick, and if I walked in as the jealous younger brother, no one would believe a word I said. So instead, I played it clean. Quiet, I started by submitting a formal internal inquiry, not as his brother, but as a concerned employee. I noticed discrepancies in one team member's credentials. Several files uploaded appear plagiarized from public code repositories. I included 2 side-by-side screenshots and a neutral signature. 3 days later, got a ping from HR. "Thanks for flagging this. We're looking into it." That's all they said. But I knew what it meant. The machine had started moving. In the meantime, I stayed close to the fire. I volunteered for interdepartmental calls, sat in on joint meetings, watched Caleb fumble through tasks he claimed to have mastered. The more pressure HR applied, the more cracks appeared. His code was messy, his workflow disorganized. He missed 2 deadlines in a row. Then came the twist. I was assigned to code a new internal tool, project one that required close collaboration with Caleb's department. The same week, HR began pulling his activity logs. The day I walked into that first joint planning meeting, Caleb looked like he'd seen a ghost. His smirk faltered. His eyes narrowed. I acted polite, professional, as if we were just coworkers. He didn't say a word to me. Not in that meeting. Not after, but I could see the panic settling in behind his eyes. He knew I was close. He just didn't know how much I already had it. Didn't take long for Caleb to start slipping. He stumbled through team calls, tripping over technical terms he'd bragged about knowing. In one meeting, someone asked him to explain his implementation of a cache and validation system. He deflected, mumbled something about optimization layers, and quickly changed the subject. I watched silently, taking notes. Later that day, I overheard 2 engineers in the break room whispering. Honestly, I don't think Caleb even wrote half the stuff on his resume. He's all talk. His GitHub's basically empty. I didn't have to say a word. The truth was already seeping out. What made it worse for him was that I was thriving, Lena. My manager started looping me into higher-level discussions. My audit reports were crisp. My code review comments were appreciated. My quiet consistency began to outshine his loud mediocrity, but I wasn't there to win a popularity contest. I was building a case. Then, during one late-night documentation review, I found it. Caleb had uploaded a UI mockup with metadata still attached. My name was in the file properties, created 2 years ago on my machine. Same design I'd pitched in a freelance proposal to a small client in 2021. I screenshotted everything. Date stamps, metadata, the original email with my attached file. And I forwarded it to HR, labeled additional context. Still no mention of our relation. Still professional. Still calm the next day. Caleb was pulled into a private meeting. He came out pale and silent. I passed him in the hallway. Rough day. I asked, keeping my tone light. He didn't answer. He just stared, because deep down, he knew whatever this was. It wasn't just office politics anymore. It was personal. And I was winning. The day Caleb was put on formal performance review, I got the call from my mother. Not "how are you" or "how's the new job," just her voice, clipped and cold. "Did you do something to your brother's career?" I was stunned. "What?" "No." She exhaled like I was a child lying about breaking a lamp. "He says you've been harassing him at work, that you're jealous he got ahead." I couldn't believe it. Caleb had gone crawling to them. "Again, Mom. He stole my resume. He used my projects to land that job." I didn't harass anyone. I just proved the truth. Her silence stung harder than any insult. Then she said it. "You've always been so petty, you know? He finally gets his life on track, and you go digging through old emails to bring him down." It felt like someone poured ice water through my chest. She hung up after that. No goodbye. That weekend, my dad called. Said he was disappointed. That family doesn't destroy family. As if I'd pulled the trigger instead of Caleb loading the gun. I didn't leave my apartment the rest of the day. I just sat there, curtains drawn, emails unread, mind spiraling. All my life, I tried to earn their respect. I thought if I just worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, gave enough, one day I'd be seen. And yet, here I was. Again, the scapegoat. The villain in Caleb's story. I opened my laptop to clear my head and noticed a Slack message from Lena. "Quick note. Loved your input this week. You're doing great. Let's talk soon." I stared at that line for a long time because in that moment, I realized something painful. Maybe I'd never get the family I wanted, but I could build the one I deserved. The calendar invite came through on a Tuesday. HR review. Confidential attendance required. Attendees: Caleb Harris, Department Manager, HR led. And me. I stared at the screen, heart thudding in my chest. This was it. Not a guess. Not a theory. A meeting. The kind where masks are ripped off and lies don't survive long. When I walked in, Caleb was already seated, arms crossed, jaw tight, pretending to look calm but tapping his foot like it owed him money. I sat across from him and offered a polite nod. He didn't return it. HR opened with formalities, then slid a stack of printed documents to the center of the table. "We've reviewed the submitted files and found several instances of duplicate content between your resume and third-party sources," she said to Caleb. He shifted in his seat. "I use templates. Everyone does." She didn't blink. "Templates don't usually include metadata from another employee's portfolio or internal project code from unrelated departments." Then she turned to me. "You were listed as a contributor on several of the assets. Is that accurate?" I kept my voice steady. "I was the original author of every file he submitted. I can verify timestamps, source repositories, and the client contracts they came from. They're all in this folder." I handed over a flash drive. Caleb's eyes went wide. "You set me up." I looked right at him. "No, you set yourself up. I just cleaned the mess." Silence.HR thanked us both and ended the meeting early. By the end of the week, Caleb was terminated for falsification and breach of internal trust. As I left the building that day, I walked past the glass doors of his now empty office for the first time in years. I didn't feel like the overlooked one. I felt seen the Monday after Caleb was fired. I got a call from my mother again. This time, she was crying. "Your brother's devastated," she sniffled. "They escorted him out like a criminal." I didn't say anything. He says he was set up, that someone sabotaged him. She paused, fishing for a confession. "Was it you?" I could have told her everything. The lies, the stolen files, the silent investigation. But I didn't owe her that anymore. Not when her concern only ever extended in one direction. "I didn't sabotage him," I said quietly. "He did that all on his own." She hung up. A few days later, my manager Lena asked to meet. We sat down in her office clean, minimal, a coffee mug that read no chaos, only code. She smiled. A position just opened on Caleb's old team. Senior Dev Lead, HR flagged your name. I blinked. Seriously? You've earned it, she said. You've been quietly holding this place together since you walked in the door. They just didn't realize it until now. When I stepped into that office, his office felt surreal. His chair, his desk, his team. All of it now mine. Officially, I cleaned out the drawers and found one of his old notebooks. On the inside cover, in Caleb's sloppy handwriting, it read, "Fake it till you make it." I smiled to myself. Guess he ran out of runway before I left that day. I took a sticky note, scribbled a message, and left it in the center of the desk drawer. Next time, earn it. And below that, I signed my full name, the one he tried to erase. A few weeks later, HR forwarded me an email with the subject line, "Former applicant seeking re-entry, see attached." I opened it. Already curious, it was Caleb, same last name. Slightly altered first name. A clumsy alias using his middle name and a different Gmail address. But the resume? Still padded with work he never did. Still recycled from the same stolen lies, only now with buzzwords. He clearly didn't understand. He was trying to sneak back in. I stared at the screen for a long time. There was a time this would have shattered me, sent me into a spiral of rage, disbelief, self-doubt. But now I just felt calm. I drafted a reply. Not from HR, from me. "Dear applicant, thank you for your interest in the dev-led position. After a thorough review, we've decided to move forward with candidates whose experience aligns with the integrity and standards we uphold. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors." I stared at the last line. Then I added one more. "P.S. Authenticity isn't something you can borrow. It's something you build." And at the bottom, I signed it. My full name, Lead Developer Infrastructure Team. I printed the letter on company stationery. I sealed it in an envelope and mailed it to his address. Not through email, not digitally, physically, so he'd have to open it with his own hands. He never responded. But I imagined him reading it, alone, no applause, no backup, just the sound of his own failure echoing back at him. It wasn't revenge, exactly, it was clarity. And that felt better than any apology he could have given. I used to think justice would feel loud like fireworks. Applause, a dramatic finale. But it didn't. It felt like walking into the office on a regular Tuesday, nodding at the security guard, pouring my coffee, and opening my laptop to a screen I earned, not one I stole, that it felt like peace every now and then. Someone new asks how I climbed so fast. How I managed to go from anonymous name on a resume to lead developer in under a year. I give them the same answer every time. Took the long way. Because I did. I took the lonely way. The overlooked way. The way filled with rejection emails, sleepless nights, ignored birthdays. And being told I wasn't enough because I didn't shine the way my brother did. But shine doesn't last. Substance does. I haven't spoken to my parents since Caleb was fired. Not because I'm angry anymore, but because I stopped trying to earn love that came with conditions. The truth is, I spent most of my life trying to prove I mattered to people who only clapped when someone louder spoke. Now I don't need their applause. The people around me see what I build. They see what I am not, who I'm trying to be. I mentor new hires. I advocate for transparency. I leave my old insecurities at the door when I clock in every morning. Last week, found the original stolen resume buried in my cloud archive. The one Caleb used. The file with his name and my words. I deleted it, not out of spite, but because I no longer need the reminder. He took my resume, But I kept my reputation, and I built something that no one, not even family, can ever fake again.